Look at us now, tip to tip.
Ooh, Jesus.
Oh.
Start for Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita?
Yes!
My God!
Power to us, doing what we love. But it's time to bang. Oh, yeah, Friday, July 25th. Of the 25s, and you've entered Morning Kombat, welcome in the best damn combat sports show they ever put together. R.I.P. Hogan, still not really sure where I feel on that. But hey, anyway, I'm your boy BC Brian Campbell. Luke Thomas on vacation for the final episode, but that hasn't stopped or slowed the news cycle as we are ready to hit you right between the eyes with a fantastic show today featuring two first-time guests around 12:15-ish Eastern time today. We'll welcome in boxing podcaster, insider Sean Zittel as we look at the latest things going on with Zuffa Boxing, the Ali Act, and so much more, along with a look ahead to the weekend. But we've got another first-time guest here, one of the more elite MMA artists in the journalism game today, one of Canada's finest exports as well. So we got a lot to talk about, from all things UFC Abu Dhabi on Saturday to some big fight announcements in the future. Before I welcome him in, why don't you follow what we got going on here? Like the video, subscribe on YouTube, tell a friend, spread it with the aggressiveness and carelessness you did those STDs in college. Check out our YouTube channels as well. And one more plug if I can. All right. Let's go to morningkombat.shop. Let's go right now. It's the end of the month. Our specialty features this month, from the 3-Gut Margarita shirt to the technical thriller. Get them while they'll last, because they won't. That's the whole point. Not to mention autographed and unautographed lucha posters. Shout out to Average Joe Art. Check it out, morningkombat.shop. Get you and your loved ones outfitted for the summer. All right, let's do it. Let's bring in my guest to kick off the show. From MMA Junkie with Love and the host of the fantastic Bonfire podcast. He's also a bearded individual. Let's welcome Mike Bohn. I wanted to say for the first time, but I'm wrong, because Boner, you were on the 3 Margarita show, brother. Welcome back to MK.
I was. That was a memorable day, and happy birthday, Brian.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So 47 never looked this washed, but happy to be here. Happy to circle the globe one more time with you. Mike, big fan of your work these days. How's life? How's everything? You're tearing ass over there at Junkie.
Thank you. Yeah, life is good, man. Can't complain. I thought New Orleans was an awesome time last week. I hadn't been there before. It's always cool to go to like a first time city. And obviously, like personally speaking, Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier are two fighters I've gone back further with covering this than almost anyone in the sport, and they've been very good to me over the years. So a little tough seeing them fight again, but I thought the whole week was amazing, and Dustin went out in about as good a fashion as he could have outside of a win. So that was a fight week that will stick with me. They blend together so much at this point in time after doing it for so long, but that one was a special one. So I had to stay an extra day out there on Bourbon Street, saw a full-on bar brawl on my last night there, which was insane. But yeah,
you should have took some video. We could have put it on. Have you seen?
I do have video. I'll send it to you after the fact, or maybe if one of the producers want. It was wild stuff.
Thank you. Hopefully you didn't wait in line too long at Cafe Du Monde for those overrated powder donuts. But shout out to New Orleans. Shout out to that war hat behind you. Very Shab-esque. I like that from you.
There you go. Yeah, no, that was a gift from Dustin directly. So what can you say? You got to put it on the set when that happens.
Yeah, you gotta wear it all day. That's what I'm talking about. All right, Mike, we got a lot to get into today. Very appreciative that you would fill that chair of Luke Thomas, and probably filling it with less violent IBS, to be fair, right? That's sort of a theme of that man's aggressive life. But let's remind everybody that today's episode of Morning Kombat is brought to you by DraftKings. With DraftKings, of course, the crown is yours. Shout out to everybody watching right now on the DraftKings network, listening on your podcast feed or on YouTube, however you consume it. It's time Oh, it's almost time. One more thing. I almost forgot about that Aussie kid. Hey, our producer, our director, our bong enthusiast, one of the nicest guys in the world. How about the Main Card Minute podcast, Luke Nocita, also on the ones and twos today? Luke, I even introduced you without referencing your dad's nuts, so that's a good thing.
Almost. Right? You were that close. You were that
Yeah.
close. Guys, I'm hyped. Bobby Knuckles fighting tomorrow, and we got a day card. I mean, I couldn't be happier. So let's go.
Well done right there, Luke. Happy to have you with us as always. All right, let's hit it. Topic number one. Uno, yes, it's UFC Abu Dhabi this Saturday, and that's a pretty damn good fight night card with a middleweight main event that you must see, of course, with title implications, with former champion Robert Whittaker having surprisingly lost 3 of his last 6, entering this matchup against a red-hot Dutch knight in Reinier de Ridder, who is on a 3-fight stoppage spree in the 9 months since he has joined the UFC. Saturday's middleweight 5-rounder feels a bit like a crossroads fight, with the winner catapulting pretty damn close to the top of this division. So, Mike Bohn, what aspect of this matchup, Knuckles versus the Knight, has you the most intrigued as we head into Saturday?
I think just finding out if Robert Whittaker still has it, right? Like, is this, as you said, 3-3 in the last 6? Where just is he? Because you look at the fighters he's lost to, all due respect to Reinier, he hasn't like in the UFC accomplished what those guys have. And we'll find out if he is capable of being that. But yeah, like this is one you got to think Robert must have. There feels like maybe a path to one more title shot for him. He's saying it like, this is my last run here. He has history with no matter who comes out of that title fight, which could make it, both like a backstory for a rematch, but also tricky because he did get finished by both guys, the Hamzat one being particularly definitive. So he's just got to prove that he's still here. And I still have faith in Robert Whittaker. I don't think he's someone who's fallen off dramatically, just had some hard fights. But if he loses that one, I think we start having to ask some more serious questions about what his future looks like. And is he still that guy who has held a spot in the top 5-6 of this division for like a decade now?
Yeah, I think that's very well said about what this fight really represents and how we look at one of my favorite fighters of all time, Bloody Knuckles himself, the Reaper, Robert Whittaker, 34 years old. So, Mike, you never really know if we're going to see the beginning of someone coming or going, so to speak, from the aging factor. I think the biggest shock, I don't want to say disappointment because, you never know who's going to win these things, but the biggest shock wasn't necessarily that Whittaker is 3-3 in his last 6, largely against elite opponents. It's more the one-sided nature in how he lost. I mean, we are literally talking about a living legend right here, and I don't offer that nickname liberally, or is that the right word? I don't know. I'll have to ask Luke later. But let's throw to a quick graphic here showing the names that this man has gone through, whether win or lose in his lifetime there. You're talking about 2 title fights with Adesanya. I thought he won the second one. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. How about 10 rounds with prime Yoel Romero, DDP, Chimaev? You see it all the way going back to the welterweight days. This man is one of the best fighters in the history of this promotion and certainly a top 3 in this division, although DDP is crashing this picture quickly. Mike, how will we tell if Rob still has it here on Saturday? Because it is an interesting matchup where we don't expect that RDR is going to be looking to strike with him.
You would think not, but I think some people would have said he would have welcomed being on his back against Bo Nickel, hoping he could hunt for a submission or whatever, and has to have gained tremendous confidence in his striking. But yeah, I don't think if you ask Reinier, like, where do you want this fight to unfold? I don't think he would say the majority on the feet. So Robert has always had really good defensive wrestling, offensive wrestling when he wants to pull it out. So if we just see him failing to stop that first wave of takedowns, the second wave, because RDR does have some tricky moves. Like, just because he shoots for that first takedown doesn't mean his takedown series or his grappling chaining ends there. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeves. So if Rob is not like shutting down that first wave, that second wave, I feel like he's still very much that guy, and that's enough to be competitive and win a lot of fights in this division. We were wondering, could he do that with Hamzat? And the answer was a definitive no. RDR is absolutely not the takedown machine that Chimaev is with the same force. But that would make it even more telling, right? Like a guy who's a little slower, who doesn't have that intensity. If he's
No
just
doubt.
chucking Rob around in there, that's a big problem.
To echo once more to the times that Whittaker in recent memory has not only been handled, but handled without care, been kind of destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a size thing? I mean, look, he's the former middleweight champion. He's one of the greatest, champions we've seen. But as he's slowing down just a bit, when you look at the DDP and Chimaev losses, how much do you think size and brute strength played a factor there?
Yeah, well, those got to be the two strongest guys in the division are up there, right? So I don't want to make it a complete indictment, but like if you ask Rob, which I did, like the Chimaev fight, he feels that was more technique, mental lapse. Like you don't hear him being like, he was just so powerful for me. And then he seemingly got him in the perfect submission technique with some pre-existing jaw issues as well. So it's almost hard to know exactly how to read into that one. And if he says that's all fixed and it's good now, that you would imagine would give him even more confidence, where he wouldn't just have to tap so quickly if RDR gets his back and wraps the forearm around the chin or the throat or whatever. So I don't want to think it's entirely size dependent. Like he looked fine in there in that regard. I think it's just fighting some really good guys, and I don't know. I still don't even know what to make of the DDP fight because it was just so weird, and he was doing well, really, and then he got clipped, and it was just like an insane downhill after that.
Yeah, I mean, and he has had some injury, illness situations that compromised that very peak of his prime. Maybe that led into how badly he fell apart, on the knockout loss to Adesanya in the first fight. You never know, but he has been able to reinstall his greatness and show us what he still has. That early knockout of Aliskerov was a nice reminder. Regarding the mouth, the teeth that Chimaev just crushed, that was a big topic, of course, this week as we're seeing Rob show up to media day with the new veneers. Let's hear from Whittaker talking about the recovery from that mouth surgery.
How are you feeling? How's the health? How long did it take to rehab from the last fight? And if it's not a secret, how much did the teeth cost?
Yeah, I'm 100% recovery. Honestly, it wasn't too long afterwards because I just got them taken out. So got implants put in, just had to wait for them to settle. So if anything, they're better than they were before. And the price, it was paid by Uncle Dana. So it's a work injury.
The fight against Hamzat, you said it before that your problems with the teeth started way before the fight. So the reason why the jaw cracked was because it was on a badly hurt jaw before. What do you think if he locked the same type of move on somebody who didn't have those jaw problems like yourself? Would he crack that jaw as well?
It wasn't the jaw, it was the teeth that got moved. My jaw was fine. Honestly, though, I shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. It's not a strong position to be in. But who knows? Maybe we'll find out in a few weeks.
Rob would also say at media day that if he has it his way, of course, this fight will be contested the entire time on the feed. It would be interesting to see what Reinier de Ridder would look like late in a fight. He doesn't typically get there. He is that submission expert at great success, of course, at one championship, winning titles in 2 divisions before coming here. But obviously, Mike, the run he's been on in the last 9 months, escalating seemingly in difficulty of opponent, although you can certainly question how dangerous was Bo Nickel really at that point. That was more of a we needed to find out type of moment. All in all, and I'll tell you the DraftKings odds right now, Robert Whittaker still a slight favorite at -155, but that wild card jiu-jitsu expert of RDR +130. Mike, RDR is a wild card guy, meaning if things go his way, they can really go his way. We've also seen, albeit though, against a much bigger fighter in Anatoly Malkin, and that if it's a pure striking war, oh boy, he could get handled in there. Do you look at him almost like in boxing, we say a puncher's chance? Like if it goes his way, he's got a shot? Or even if this fight goes 5 rounds, could you see a path to victory here for RDR?
Ooh, that's a tough one just because I still regard Whittaker as one of the better 5-round fighters like I've seen, especially in this division. Like you look at those fights with Darren Till and Cannonier and Paulo Costa, and the list goes on and on. This man knows what he's doing over a 5-round fight. I haven't seen that out of Reinier. So the idea of him going out there and winning like a 49-46, 48-47 type of decision, that doesn't feel like a realistic outcome to me. Obviously, it can happen, but if he's winning, it feels like it's going to be in a finish. And if he can't get it, like I could see Whittaker maybe getting a TKO in the later rounds, or maybe winning that decision himself. So I don't think Reinier even plans for that, cares about that. He's going in there, I think, to finish the fight, and he could do it, man. They just had their face off like an hour ago at ceremonial weigh-ins there. He is a big freaking guy, and I know we talked about the size and the strength for Rob earlier with some of these opponents. Like, he's getting another one here. Reinier is massive. We know he's been a champion in multiple divisions, so like if he goes out there and he can bully Rob and wear him down and lean on him and pull him and all that stuff and then get the fight to the ground, he can do this. He can finish the fight, and he's got one of the most important things you could ask for right now, and that is confidence and momentum.
Yeah, momentum is huge. I want to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
First, we've got to listen to what the Dark Knight has to say when basically asked what we're debating here. Is your plan to kind of save that gas tank for the later rounds, or is your plan to be Reinier de Ridder and get after it? Let's hear from him.
Considering this is your first main event in the UFC, do you envision yourself changing your approach a little bit, pacing yourself because of the potential of it going 25 minutes, or no?
Nah, I think just hit the gas. That's kind of what I do. See if I can get him out there early, or maybe get him tired, and then both of us might get tired in the last couple of rounds.
Must be a big podcast fan with that all gas, no breaks way of living right there. But let's go quickly to Long Island Luke, our betting expert. When I look at the odds here, Luke, your boy from Australia is the better fighter, but I feel like the odds makers who always know, even when we question them, they know. It feels like they're not sure how strong the momentum of RDR is and how much Rob has left. Do you get that same feeling?
Yeah, I feel like it's more what Rob has left, or maybe like what Rob's teeth have left kind of thing there. But Rob at middleweight, he's only lost to champions. He's only lost to Hamzat. 7 of his last 10 fights have come against current top 15 guys. RDR, yeah, he's on a nice streak. Still hasn't fought anyone in the top 15. I feel like good value on Rob here too. Minus 155. I would take that all day. But on the other hand, RDR, I feel like you just got to take by finish at that point, because if he doesn't get it done early, he's probably not going to get it done. But you already know I'm riding with Bobby Knuckles. Let's go.
Bobby Knuckles, like you, Luke, would say this week that he believes in his BJJ. He believes he will have no problem if the fight does go there. But this is what we're trying to figure out, Mike. Is this just a red hot streak against the right names at the right time? Did RDR, who used to shoot for the moon and, try to win the heavyweight championship at one, but yet came into the UFC with a fuck it attitude? I'm just going to go out there, fight who they give me and see what happens. When you look at this and you're ready to make your prediction, does the Dark Knight, the Dutch one, get this done?
I'm going to say no, but he's capable, definitely. And like we talked about, like, this is everything this man has dreamed of, right? Like, he was in purgatory. No one was talking about him. He was stuck in a horrible contract with one, and there was a path to him never being relevant again. So the fact that he's here, that he made his debut in September, and here we are with his 4th fight and fighting a former champion in a main event. Like, this is the things he could have only dreamed of 2 years ago when he had no idea what his future looked like. So if there's anyone who's, we're not talking about skills here, how they match up and, striking, wrestling. Like, I'm just talking about the mental side of things. Like, this guy could not have more motivation and drive to get this done. Whereas Robert Whittaker, like, when was the last time he fought someone ranked number 12? Like, it's been years and years and years. So this is like a I'm still here type of fight for Rob. And this is just for Reinier, like, I could everything I want, all my dreams, a title fight, it's all on the other side of this. So this is the moment for him to show up and show his best. That could translate into a win. But until I see the fall off from Robert Whittaker that we've talked about and pondered about, I can't pick against him quite yet.
I'm exactly right there with you. And I am a big fan of RDR. Interviewed him a bunch in his one days and really believe. Yeah, great dude. Really believe. But I believe when things go his way. And this might be a fight. It'll probably be a fight where it won't go his way. So I like Whittaker by decision. I don't throw out the idea that he could stop him on strikes just the same. But when you look at what's really at stake here, I don't think RDR is a win and you get a title shot, because we do have some big names atop this division. It would certainly set him up for big things. But even though Whittaker's coming in on a 1-fight losing streak, we already know if you're a former champion with a big name and you get a viable win, you could be knocking on the door. Is there any chance Whittaker could, with a win here, could be facing, in your eyes, the winner of that August middleweight championship in Chicago between Chimaev and DDP?
It feels unlikely just based off this one win, but it really depends. Like, who deserves it the most? It's, I think, the winner of Nasruddin Imavov and Caio Baralho,
Sure.
right? But I don't think Imavov is someone the UFC is tripping over itself to put in a title fight. Like, he was supposed to be the backup, and then all that weirdness with the Paris main event. So, like, I think they would reluctantly give it to him if no one else was available and it was best for their timing. And then you look who else is out there. There's no one that feels like this is so clearly the next guy outside of that, of course. So Rob, all those things you said, the things that he's done, the name value, maybe they do a show in Sydney, a pay-per-view in like February, and the timing lines up there. Dricus has fought there multiple times if he wins. So like, it could be location dependent, all that stuff. He's at least got a chance if he goes out there and does something. And given like what he'd be 4-3 in the last 7 fights, that's all you can really ask yourself for. The person that feels like they would be more sellable for the title fight right away would be Reinier if he does something impressive, finishes the job, because he has trained, I think, pretty extensively with both guys. And he's, you know, we wanted to see the awkwardness of a Reinier de Ridder versus Dricus du Plessis fight. We need that.
Would be awkward and delightful just the same. Let's get into this co-main event in the bantamweight division. As former champion, I always struggle. Piotr Patal. What's up, Piotr Jan, my man? He'll be, by the way, minus 375 favorite, according to DraftKings, as he bounced back from that streak in which he lost both the title and 4 out of 5 to win 2 straight in title contention. Suddenly, you could have argued he should have gotten the last title shot in a potential rematch with Merab. This time, though, like Whittaker welcoming somebody from the backside of the rankings, we'll get a 35-year-old Marcus McGee who is riding a 6-fight win streak, now largely against secondary opposition. The decision win over Jonathan Martinez last time was a nice boost to really give him what amounts here, for me, a tryout on the elite level. Would you think Marcus McGee has shown us yet that this is possible, that he could get through Jan as a, by the way, plus 295 favorite, and that he could prove to us on Saturday that he is of this elite ilk?
He could. He's shown a lot of good stuff, and they picked him in this spot for a reason. If Jan was going to fight way down in the rankings, this is someone I thought deserved a chance like this, and it made sense from the style stuff and all that. I'm still super high on Jan and think he is capable of a lot of good things and big wins, and maybe even getting that belt again. So we'll, I'm sure, get into it from his side. I love this fight. And for McGee, like, yeah, could he land something crazy out there? But Jan's chin is very good. Obviously, his striking is elite. So the path to victory is going to be very, very, very tough. But if he hurts him, if he really is aggressive in there and wears Jan down, perhaps he can win this fight on a decision. But I don't see it. This is a real tough uphill climb for him.
It really is. It's a huge opportunity, though, and given his age and the window that is available to him, you certainly have to take your best swing and jump through it. He's almost looking like a tourist on Instagram on, being a part of a big card like this in a big spot in the co-main event and seeing his name in lights, seeing his face on the poster, that kind of stuff. He certainly can fight, but Mike, at 32, Jan's not done. I mean, he's feels in his last 2 fights, decision wins over Song Yadong, Davison Figueiredo, like he's a lot closer to being not only in contention, but possibly, as you mentioned, regaining that title than he is going in the other direction. So when you look back at that streak of 4 defeats in 5 fights, we certainly have some explainable situations, including the disqualification there. But do you think maybe it was a grind of so many big names back to back to back in a short period of time that maybe there was a burnout or something there that slowed him down?
There could be some complacency. Bantamweight is just insane, dude. Like, these guys are so good. Who put those 4 fights in front of anyone, maybe outside of Merab? Like, who's coming out with a significantly better record and winning all those instead of losing them? So, like, in that sense, I don't want to beat him up too much. There could have been some of that. Like, he was in a weird spot after those Aljo fights. and maybe it just took some time to pick up the pieces, but he feels like he's fully back and motivated. And I love that he took this fight. It is very smart of him, I think. I know the risk is immense, but like if we're talking about him maybe getting a title shot and getting that belt back, like he said he was offered Umar Nurmagomedov in the main event of UFC Baku, and Umar couldn't make it, still dealing with the hand stuff. But like, if you could get a title shot off of either of those, just because of the situation, isn't this the significantly easier fight? And it's a 3-rounder, like, you know, one win and it gets him there. And I'd much rather have that fight come against Marcus McGee than Umar Nurmagomedov. So he's the benefit of some good timing. And, you know, if Merab beats Corey Sandhagen, this guy's going to need someone to fight. So I think he's in a real good spot here if he gets this done.
Yeah. And I really agree with you on that regard. And, I mean, he kind of should have or could have already gotten a title shot based off of those 2 wins. This is such a pick your poison. I mean, like you said, the difference between McGee and what the difficulty of Umar brings. And I wasn't really sure about the Umar setback on the injury. I was actually going to ask you that, like, why are we not getting that fight this time right now? But I wonder if it's better for Jan in terms of getting that next fight, if it is depending on who wins, or do you think he can get it either way?
I think he can get it either way, just because if Merab beats Corey, like who's the next guy after that, if not this? So it's a bit of a tough sell. Like we remember that first fight. I think Merab shot 40 something takedowns in there. Jan, to his credit, stopped most of them, and there was a lot of personal stuff between those two, like leading in at the weigh-ins. So you can definitely sell it. And if Jan goes out there and styles on this dude, I think it is something you could sell. Like, he is a guy that I think still has a pretty passionate fan base who a lot of people think is extremely talented. He's picking up on the English more. Like there's ways to go, and it seems like Merab is down to do that fight again too. He's talked about it, being open to it. So it seems like a pretty strong path here. And I've been saying this a lot in recent months. Like, I would love to see more fighters do this in terms of just like trying to get some forward movement of their own in the division by fighting a guy who's down like the rankings. Like, in theory, Jan should win this fight with a highlight, something spectacular, and that is more valuable than winning a competitive 5-round decision over Umar. And like, you know, your sellability, all that stuff, it's an easier fight. Like, go out there and treat the number 12 ranked guy, or whatever McGee is, like he should be treated by a guy with your standard. And I think that does more for you than if you go to a blood and guts decision with number 6.
Yeah, damn right on that one. And the Maniac certainly has his own form of danger here, but I like Jan in just about every category. I hope Jan continues to add on to that English, by the way, because he's cold-blooded seemingly at every turn. I even like when he stood up against, what was that whole Habib bit that went on this week of, do you remember the specifics of that? He even pushed back against that. There was something that Habib had said that the media was like, does this apply to you as well? And he's just like, no, Habib can have that thing. I'm different, whatever. While showing respect, though, at the same time, he's certainly cold-blooded. Quickly, Long Island Luke, you're not throwing plus money at McGee here, right? We're all in unison.
No, but I don't like the fucking odds on Jan, so I'm taking the over 2.5. Also, worth noting, McGee trains at MMA Lab, where Sean O'Malley used to train, maybe possibly still trains. Sean O'Malley got that fluky split decision against Jan. Maybe that team knows something, you know, just saying.
Yeah, maybe the tie goes to the runner when it comes to a big time fighter like that. And I like, by the way, the cold-bloodedness of Jan saying, yeah, I'd rematch O'Malley again, but only if it was, you know, on the path to the title, because he believes that guy was a fraud all the way. Let's keep going down the card. Shara Bullet at middleweight here, coming off of that first defeat in the UFC against Michael Venom Page, will be a monster favorite, minus 675 against the tough Canadian Marc-Andre Barrial at plus 490. Mike, we knew Shara Bullet had some flaws even during the one-eyed pirate win streak that he put on there. Did the MVP fight pop the balloon at all for you in terms of trying to figure out exactly where his ceiling is?
I think so. Like, it feels like he lost a lot of momentum, energy around him coming off that loss. It was a tough one. Like, you even just look at the numbers that we have this week, like, it is nothing compared to his first 3-4 UFC fights. So he's got something that he needs to rebuild here. And yeah, like there's a lot of pressure in that regard. And fighting my fellow Canadian, Marc-Andre Barriault, I think I can't avoid this man's fights. He's just fighting in front of me every few months. And last time we saw him, he put a guy out on a stretcher out there in Montreal. So
yes, that was
I think
Bruno
he can
Silva.
win this fight. And yeah, Shara needs to show something here, some evolution, because he made a lot of excuses after that loss too, saying he was sick, all these different things. So you got to prove it here. But it does feel like there's just not that excitement and interest in him that there was prior to that fight with MVP.
Certainly here. Then maybe this is that perfect setup, as you said, to get him that. But Barriault damn near killed Bruno Silva, who we always have to say was blinded permanently in both eyes by Weidman in that ridiculous fight before that. But that snapped a 3-fight losing skid for Barriault. Still, I don't know. I mean, Shara looks good to pretty good at times, and he can break out spectacular strikes like a double ass 360 spinning double reverse elbow type of tilt. That's like some video game shit right there. But even more than him doing something spectacular right here, I want to see him control every terms of, all the terms of this fight and put on the kind of victory that would give you more confidence in him moving forward, because certainly there's a very marketable side to him. And, one-eyed fighters have won a UFC title in the past, just to be fair with that regard. There's more to talk about on this card, but I want to specifically talk about the featured prelim bout as Bryce Mitchell drops down to bantamweight in a very interesting fight against Said Nurmagomedov. Now, Mitchell will be a minus 142 betting favorite against the plus 120 Nurmagomedov. And this reinvention here comes after a time in which Mitchell was finished in 3 of his last 5 fights at featherweight, including the end of that insane grudge back-and-back war with Lord Gian Silva, which seemed to be a lot more about stomping on weird Hitler ideologies than even the real beef between them. Ultimately, Mike, is this the right move for Bryce at this point in his career, in your eyes, to go down and try to find new life?
Yeah, why not? Like, why not? He's clearly hit a ceiling at featherweight. He's not getting, he already fought Ilia Topuria, right? We saw how that go. We fought other elite level guys. He needed to switch something up if he didn't want to just be a guy who goes out there and wins one, loses one, all that type of stuff. Can he make a run here? Like, bantamweight is a deeper division than featherweight, in my opinion, right now. So he's got a lot of work to do. This is going to be a tough challenge, but this is a good new layer of paint on his career, I guess, to see if he can try to make something happen, because it feels like featherweight was going nowhere.
You're starting to wonder, though, is he of the Sean Strickland ilk, where it's like, is it dangerous to bring this guy to other countries, right? Is somebody going to throw a boomerang at Colby Covington again? Is it going to be one of those situations?
So, I mean, it seems like his day one, that story about him in the change room or whatever, just like, going full hanging out was the worst it got. I haven't heard anything bad as far as horror stories from over there. So it seems like he's been on his best behavior. At least the media day was interesting, but
yeah, the media day was weird. Let's investigate it just a bit, because we do play up the weirdness on this show. Here's Bryce Mitchell at media day, misunderstanding who he's talking to.
Брайс, приветствую. Саид Нурмагомедов, твой первый соперник с Дагестана. Что ты знаешь про дагестанскую школу ММА? И есть ли у тебя понимание, как ей противостоять?
Shukran, Habibi.
No,
Alhamdulillah. Salam alaikum, Abu Dhabi.
He spoke Russian, by the way.
Al-Fawz inshallah. Al-Fawz inshallah. Al-Fawz inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you. I'm from Russia.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were speaking Arabic.
No, the question was...
Arabic.
Oh boy, it's the guy's a wild card. Look, some people still, I don't even say rightfully, want to cancel him or see him, I don't know, maybe change his tune on some of the more disastrous things he said publicly. One media member did bring that up one more time. Let's see Bryce's reaction.
Like, people were saying it should be canceled at some point. Is this thing over, or like still some people are still mad at you back at home?
Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:9. The synagogue of Satan has formed an army against me. They compass me about. Yeah, they compass me about, but the Lord will strike them down.
Thank you.
I don't remember the book where Jesus fished with Hitler there, Mike. I've read that book front to back. Just want to let you know.
Yeah, no, I missed that chapter.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do you think he gets this done here? How good, in your eyes, is Said Nurmagomedov?
He's good. This is a tough fight for Bryce. It'll be interesting, and that will be the telling thing of whether this was a big mistake or not, right? Because Bryce considers himself an elite grappler, and Said is very submission competent and a great grappler himself. So, like, he said the reason he dropped down is because he felt like he was getting dummied a bit by John Silva. If Said goes out there and is able to handle him in the same way, then it's like, where does Bryce kind of go from there? And I think he's capable. Like, Said's had his up and down moments in the UFC, but he's clearly a very skilled guy and has some solid finishing instincts, both on the feet and the ground. So this will be, like, I know what he is, and I don't think he's going to be a champion or anything like that at bantamweight, but he can be a top 15 guy for a while. This will be telling if Bryce can get through him, if he can actually make some noise in this division, because Said is very competent.
Said, 33 years old, has lost 2 of his last 3, but certainly put together an overall pretty good run in a very difficult division. I have seen the side-by-side photos, by the way, of Bryce, for the photo shoot for Feather and Bantam. It kind of looks the same, really does, right?
A little more defined, but yeah, pretty much.
All right, Mike, when you look up and down the rest of this card, what storyline, what fight stands out to you the most?
Ooh, man, it's hard to say. Like, there's a lot of meat on the bone for this one, right? Like, I'm a big Nikita Krylov guy. I think he's, like, the comeback fight after 2 years away did not go well for him last time, but light heavyweight, man, this is a wasteland out there. So a guy like him, he hasn't had his title shot. He puts together a few wins in a row and has some consistency. He can be there. And at worst, it's going to be an exciting fight that ends in a finish, because I think he has only been to the scorecards once in his entire career. So that's always good. I'm always down for a Nikita Krylov fight.
Dude, there's a lot of interesting things on this fight.
Amanda Ribas too against Tabitha Ricci.
First of all, you'll get people in the comments saying that's a shorts or underwear only fight, but I'm telling you, that's a good ass fight on top of that, right?
Yeah, it's solid. I mean, I've been high on Ribas for a while. I don't like that she did the jumping up and down weight classes so many times thing. I think she is a significantly better strawweight than she is a flyweight, and hopefully she's finally settling in. I understand why she bounced back. These are the fights the UFC was offering her, up weight classes, down weight classes. They clearly want to give her opportunities, but when I look at her and the opponents she has to fight, I always think she performs better as a strawweight, and I think the record reflects that. I think she's 5-2 in the UFC at strawweight and like 3-3 at feather or flyweight.
Yeah, she has to lean on her chin too much. She gets hit a lot when she fights at the 125 right there. Our baby shark is coming off that loss to Yan Xiaonan, which snapped a win streak that seemed to say that maybe she's turning toward contention. Here at age 30, this does feel like a big fight for Ricci in terms of trying to turn that corner.
Yeah, she needs to win this one if she wants to be something here. And Zhang Weili needs people to fight and needs people that are interesting. So assuming she sticks around this division, I don't know what's going on with her maybe moving up and fighting Valentina, and if she would come down after that, win or lose. But yeah, this division is in desperate need of fresh faces, interesting challengers. And do I give her a chance of winning that title fight? No, but fans seem to like her. She's got that relationship with Cal Walsh and all that stuff. So like there's something there that you can at least work with.
I saw a Horn tweet from Paulo Costa. I think he likes it too. Very interesting stuff. He likes to stir the pot in a lot of different areas and shake during press conferences. I've got to say, Long Island Luke, your boy at flyweight, Asu Almabayev, you were hyping him up for some time. He lost to a very almost absurd looking Manel Kape, who was virtuoso striking wise in that fight. Does he bounce back here against Ochoa?
Yeah, I mean, he also got eye poked to shit in that fight from Manel Kape. So, he's got
Jose. That's true.
Jose Ochoa, he looks good, but he's a little unproven. He knocked out Cody Durden. I don't know how much value we can really put in that win. Asu, by the way, I got it plus money earlier in the week. He's now minus 125, but either way. Also got to give a shout out to the curtain jerker, Marcus Buchecha, making his UFC debut here. I mean, I feel like Luke Thomas would speak on this better than I can, but BJJ legend. So let's go, Buchecha.
Yeah, Luke Thomas would take his thing out, no doubt. But Mike, Buchecha, is this like the curtain jerk thing seems a little like we're not sure who you are, so you're maybe our next Robelis Despaigne. Let me keep you there until you show us that you have life. Do you think this guy whose only loss in MMA is to Umar Khan, the current 1 heavyweight champion? Are you expecting much here?
I hope so. Please. I think they put him in the spot maybe because, his jiu-jitsu background, it's in Abu Dhabi. Maybe there's some sort of connection, try to get people in the door early or get them excited by, a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. But we'll see, man. Another guy, as I talked to with Reinier de Ridder earlier, was in one championship purgatory, felt like his career was over and he was never going to get an opportunity like this. And he gets it probably later in life than he would have wanted to, but he's here. The heavyweight division could not be more wide open and desperate for someone to do anything interesting. So please, can we go out there and get a quick submission, do something to drum up some interest? And he's fighting a ranked guy right off the bat. It doesn't take much at heavyweight. Couple good wins, a couple smart comments on the microphone, and he's right there fighting in, title eliminators, all that type of stuff. So he needs to deliver. We'll see how much he's improved his game in terms of being well-rounded. Budai, not the most exciting guy, but solid heavyweight. Nevertheless, he needs to go out there and do something dominant to get some traction there. Or
dude, we need heavyweights.
Kind of uninspiring.
We need some viable heavyweights. It's time.
Please.
Okay. I don't want one to blow up and there not to be a third season of Chatri's One Championship Apprentice Edition. Yeah, but sure. Wouldn't you love Umar Khan and Vitaly what's Malikin's first name?
Anatoly
Malikin, excuse me. I'd love to see those guys toiling in the UFC just the same. All right, that is real quick too. TV fighter alert. Turkey's Ebo Arslan at light heavyweight who got submitted by the Hulk last time out, breaking a win streak. That guy makes fun fights every single time. Maybe not full on Slava Claus level, Mike, but you got to tune in to see that guy brawl.
Yeah, he's a killer in there.
All right, that is your UFC fight night for this Saturday. But let me talk to you a bit about summer travel, right? We all go through this weekend getaway with the wife. I've been taking the kids on these college tours, and about the frustration in this hot weather of staying, what I'm talking about right there. All right. Overpack, underpack. You can forget the essentials in between. So how look into this beautiful starter pack from Mando to make sure you have everything you need at all times. You want to talk about products in this starter pack? How about the Mando 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar? How about the sweat control deodorant stick? That leaves you solid for the rest of the day. And how about just the idea here that it's not always easy to smell good and keep that smell away and the sweat going on there. But Mando is perfect for the sweaty summer situations, the long days outside, the beach trips, the golfing, the physical jobs under the sun. Mando holds up even in the heat, even on the move. So we need you to check out right now everything that's going on Shop Mando. That's MANDO.com, and use our code COMBAT with a K for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. It's for new customers only. ShopMando.com. Use our code COMBAT with a K. And what makes Mando so good is the fresh scents, the compliments that you'll get because of it, created by a doctor who saw firsthand that normal BO was being maldiagnosed and mistreated. Nobody wants to be that guy in the Fen group who smells bad, okay? Especially if you're still in the game. But Mando's giving it to you with the products, baking soda free, paraben free. It's healthy just the same. So the Mando starter pack, perfect for new customers, comes with the solid stick deodorant, like I said, the cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, mini body wash, deodorant wipes. Hey, you pick, and you get that free shipping. And for new customers, one more time, let's head over to shopmando.com and use our code COMBAT with a K. Support our show and tell Mando that BC sent you. Yeah, Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits and smell great doing it. It's time to be a man, right? All right, let's go to topic number 2 right here. And let's bring back a well-smelling man, I'm sure, Mike Bohn, to talk about the slew of events for the fall that Dana White and the UFC have announced. Mike, look, I get on them aggressively. I'm going to get on them later in this show about this Ali Act BS. But main event wise, late summer, fall, we're putting shit together, are we not?
We are. This is a great streak. The summer main events were good, and looks like fall is going to be very nice too. I mean, you add Islam and Jack to the back of the slate in November, which is seeming likely, and then
Let's go.
hey, if you can get another Ilia Topuria fight to close the year in December, I know he had said he was going to be on that card. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but this is good stuff. The fighters are fighting. BC, can you believe
That's
it?
what I need. That's what I need.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to stop talking about promoters. Let's get into it here. UFC 320, of course, is October 4th in Las Vegas, and this was the centerpiece of this big announcement from Dana. Even though people are trying to guess Pereira's weight on Twitter and trying to guess if he was Aspinall's next opponent, no, Alex Pereira will get that immediate rematch against new light heavyweight champion Magomed Ankalaev. That's the main event. And how about this for a damn co-main? Merab Dvalishvili will look for his third title defense this calendar year in his quest to set a UFC record for 4 in that 12-month period when he defends against the always dangerous Corey Sandhagen. And they also added a banger. Well, hey, sir, I just met her. How about Yuri Prochazka and Khalil Roundtree Jr. at light heavyweight? Bombs away. Michael, 320. Big business, dude.
Yeah, love it. That's a great trio of fights. We haven't really. It felt like they were straying away a bit from the double title fight cards. Unless it's a bantamweight or a women's bantamweight or a women's fight or the flyweights on the men's side. But this one, this 1-2 punch is amazing. These are 2 prominent title fights featuring 2 amazing athletes, 4 amazing athletes. And yeah, let's go. This is good stuff. And I'm really curious to see, as I'm sure we'll get into, what this means for Alex Pereira and what he can do with a win or a loss.
Let me ask you that. I'm very happy that they didn't send him to heavyweight just to fill the hole of John Jones putting on that soap opera, and now he wants to come back. You know what, John? Why don't you F off? All right. That's BC talking, not Mike Bohn. All right. Let me ask you this, though. How happy are you to see him try to fix the glitch? Meaning, no disrespect to Ankalaev, I probably would have favored him against Pereira at any point when they fought, given the tough style matchup. But you did hear Alex say he wasn't 100%. Not as an excuse, but we know this guy turns around on no notice, injuries aside, and still gets it done. He kind of needs to fix this hole in the resume, in my opinion, before going to heavyweight.
Definitely. And it seems like that's what he wanted to do, right? People are asking, why are they doing this fight? No one cares about Ankalaev. What's the upside? This announcement for this particular one of the title fights was kind of met with that's because we knew it was coming, but it depends how we got here and why. If Alex said, this is the time I want to go to heavyweight, I'm sure they would have put him in there. Does that right away for the title shot? Maybe not. Maybe he does another fight first, but Alex has earned himself the right to ask for whatever he wants. And if he went to the UFC and said, as you would put it, that was a glitch that night, I need to make this right, this is the fight I want, even if it's the one that you guys don't see as the most upside, he's earned the right to call a shot and try to fix that. There can be downside, a lot of downside for him here, I think. People just assume, if he loses again, he'll just go to heavyweight. Why is him at heavyweight appealing if he loses this fight? I don't understand that, especially if he gets knocked out.
Damn right. You just said it. That's the truth. That's the damn truth right there. And that's what you get on Morning Kombat. 2 pay-per-views in 1 month, though, Mike, because October 25th is going to give us UFC 321 from Abu Dhabi, where we tend to get very good fights. Probably has something to do with the large site fee they get at these global destinations. But Tom Aspinall will take on Cyril Gane in the main event, his first defense of the full undisputed heavyweight championship. We're also going to get Alexander Rakic against Azamat Murzakanov at light heavyweight, and Alexander Volkov, who I know probably the UFC didn't want to run back a Aspinall-Volkov rematch, even though Volkov did lose that very questionable decision to Cyril Gane. But when Dana White came up to him and said, "We'll take care of you, kid," apparently he met Jailton Almeida, and I don't hate that fight either. What do you think about what we've seen here on October 25th, Mike, with Aspinall fighting Gane, who's not coming off a great performance?
Yeah, I'm fascinated just more so by the outside optics. We could all agree we think Tom Aspinall is going to win this fight, right? I think he's going to be heavily favored unless he slips on a banana peeled or, heavyweight's heavyweight and someone lands a crazy shot and finishes the fight there. I'm more just interested to see how many people care about this fight, what kind of movement it has, because we can talk about Tom Aspinall being, a big deal. He's done great in the cage, amazing fights, amazing knockouts. This guy's never headlined a pay-per-view. This is his first one. He's being co-main event on the other ones. This fight stateside will be in the middle of the day, one of those afternoon pay-per-views, and it's just a hard sell. Ciryl Gane is not going to go out there and start talking shit and trying to build this fight out. He already has the fight. Tom's doing his part, saying, this is his third title shot. I'm going to rid the division of Ciryl Gane as far as being a title contender for good, but beyond that, what's like the hype and all that stuff that it's going to draw the interest in this. So this is a big time moment for Tom Aspinall. Is he someone that fans will want to watch an afternoon pay-per-view against an opponent that's not doing much to drum up the fight? That will tell us a lot about how much people care. If this does banger numbers and everyone's talking about it, I think that's something that maybe perks up John Jones's ears a little bit. Don't even want to go down that road. But this is going to be very telling in many ways of what Tom Aspinall actually is as an asset and an interest point for the fans.
Yeah, and it would be telling as well if he, got pushed rounds, which no one's really been able to do. So that would be a big part of the entertainment factor. Long Island Lucas shared with us the DraftKings odds for these fights on the horizon. Aspinall minus 345 to the plus 275. Gane makes a lot of sense. And we have real quick sound here from Tom Aspinall reacting to the announcement of this fight.
Thanks. He's back. It's about blooming time. It is about time. It is about time. It's been over a year since I thought. It's crazy, isn't it? I know. Over a year, and the whole time I've been fit, the whole time I've been ready to go. Doing what I've been told to do, which is stay ready. I've stayed ready. We know what's gone on. We're not going to talk about that. But we now have a fight. We now have a fresh fight that I've been waiting to fight this guy for a long time. And we finally get the chance. 25th of October, it's on. Heavyweight title is being contested. And
undisputed heavyweight title.
The undisputed heavyweight, yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Cyrill's going to be stood across from you because this is a fight that we've talked about for a long time. It could have, should have maybe happened a little bit earlier, but we're finally here and getting the opportunity to defend undisputed as well.
You've got to, when you're in any kind of position, you can never be looking past your opponent. So I'm not doing that by any stretch. But ultimately, I want to beat everybody. That's my plan. Is I don't just want to beat the next guy. I want to beat the next however many guys there are. Yeah. But Cyrill's a tough test, man. I'm not looking past him at all. He's really good. He's really good. Like I said, new wave of heavyweight. Yeah. Doesn't move like anyone I've ever really fought before. But also, I don't move like anyone he's fought before. So it's going to be fun.
You know what? It felt like a disappointment when this was announced, although it's like, what else are they going to do? Yeah. I do really like the lessons that we have to learn here and the anticipation of seeing that. I don't want necessarily Gane to finish him. And then John Jones is like, see, guys, I was right all along. I planned this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But Tom seems to have the right attitude. This is the right matchup here to keep this division moving and give him a shot. So I'm fired up for that. Also, UFC Vancouver, October 18th, we're going to get a 3-round Manon Fiorot, Jasmine Jasudavicius bout. I'm all in on that if Fiorot can bounce back from that competitive title loss to Valentina. And UFC Noche 3, the downgraded fight night card from San Antonio that will go head-to-head with Canelo Crawford on Netflix with Dana White there. Announced the full card, just 4 Mexican-born fighters on the card in the third tribute to Mexico's heritage history. Diego Lopez versus Jan Silva. Yeah. Tatiana Suarez, Amanda Lemos. Yeah. Mike, is anyone going to watch this card, though, if all the bosses and all the fans are watching Canelo Crawford?
So I guess
all the Mexican fans are going to be watching Canelo. You know this.
Yeah. So from what I see here on ESPN's website, it says the prelims start at 3 p.m. Eastern. The main card starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. So I wonder how much overlap there will actually be. I would assume they'll effort their best to have it minimal. Maybe we're getting the main event as like the first or second fight of the night walks. I can't imagine a world where they're, going forward with the Canelo Crawford fight as there's still a UFC event ongoing. I just don't see that. So I think it'll be okay. But yeah, the Noche card is far from inspiring. They had, this one's been a disaster, right? Like the spear was the most spectacular, amazing thing. And then they try to go to Guadalajara for this new arena. It's freaking not finished. Like you haven't seen
the card.
Yeah. You haven't seen this level of scrambling in a little bit for something like this, but they're doing their best. The card as of right now is a little bit weird, but I'm sure they're going to do their best to maybe convince Alexa Grasso to take a fight. It's getting pretty close though. Like we're like 7 weeks away. So I'm surprised like Irene Aldana doesn't have a fight confirmed as we keep going there. So I think they'll try, but man, that main event is awesome. Like, I can't
Yeah.
wait for Silva and Lopez. That's gonna
all
be awesome.
in on that, just the same. Also, quickly on the DraftKings odds, Ankalaev minus 180 over the plus 150 Pereira, and their rematch Merab minus 380 against the plus 300 Corey Sandhagen. All right, let's keep it going here with topic number 3. Ilia Topuria in the news after a long sojourn with the Nelk boys at his house, produced some very interesting content, including further juice to the headlines about a potential title defense against Arman Tsarukyan that La Leyenda himself doesn't seem to want at all. Let's go to the videotape.
Listen, when you put so much effort in the game and you have a guy in front who you don't know that maybe he could pull out from the fight, that's not something good for us. It's not on my back. Bro, I don't fucking care. They're gonna give him a fight before the title shot because there is no way. I'm the world champion. I'm never gonna give him a chance to fight for the title. I will be like, listen, if that's the case, take my belt. I don't do it.
So, Mike Bohn, I really want to love this guy right here. Okay, I really do. But that is some shots fired. Oh, by the way, brought to you by Cuervo.
There you go.
Apologies for the misexecution there, but you get the point just the same. I want to back Topuria because you cannot deny the talent, the star power, the guy we need to take that baton and in some ways be the face of this company and build toward this inevitable eventual super fight with Islam Makhachev, number 1 and 2 pound for pound, no matter how you have them. But when you see this from him, the arrogance, the level of like, I'm not gonna fight this guy. I know Tsarukyan has one fight in 600 days right now at this moment. I know he pulled out of his title shot. What do you make of the aggression to say, no, not you, Arman?
Well, if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure after he knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, Ilia Topuria said he was not going to fight Max Holloway and would not give him a title shot. And that's the fight we ended up getting. So I put little to no stock in this. I agree. Arman's not going to be next. Like, Ilia, I think, is probably going to end up fighting Justin Gaethje next. That's my personal opinion, not reporting anything here, just the way things seem to be trending from what I've seen in recent days and weeks. So I think he's just messing with him a little bit, trying to troll him. I do think if push came to shove and the UFC said, Ilia, this is the fight we want, here's the contract, he's going to sign it. Like, he's not going to take a stance and say, no, I'm not doing this, take the belt and book Justin versus Arman for the vacant belt. Like, that's not happening. So he's messing with him. He knows that fight isn't there anyways. And maybe it's, you know, some promotional stuff that he's working on. But for him to sit there and say, like, I would rather give up the belt than do that, I mean, come on, bro. That's
come on, bro. And of course, shots fired brought to you by Cuervo. Now is as good a time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Let's get into it. Well, thank you. Brought to you by Cuervo. And of course, they're behind our pregame previews. UFC 319 on the horizon. Who will be our third guest? Get ready, get fired up for that. We do have some responses, though, in this conversation. And that's a tweet first from Arman Tsarukyan, who said, imagine calling yourself a champion, but you're already looking for a way out. You can vacate it or I'll take it. Either way, it's mine. And then the creative video meme idea here from Arman, bringing out his pet duck.
Ilia, stop running, Ilia. Stop running, Ilia. Good boy. I'll make it quick, no worries. Good boy.
That man lives a good life, it seems. Okay, I'm not trying to talk about his bank account. I'm also not trying to talk about Topuria putting over the Nelk Boys' podcast with Netanyahu. And all right, that's for Luke Thomas's political podcast right there. But would Arman try to sit out and further this inactivity to try to get a title shot, or would he have to go through a Paddy Pimblett and a Max Holloway to try to keep pace atop this division?
He's going to have to go through someone. I mean, credit to him, he's doing what he's trying to do, that video, like he's putting himself out there a little bit. This is some obvious tension, no Georgian love here. It seems to be Georgian hate between these two. So it's building to something, but this guy needs to prove something, right? You don't pull out of a title fight on weigh-in day for any reason and just automatically get the good graces of another title shot. Like it's not the way it's ever been. It's not the way it's going to be. He needs to do something here, and he knows it. Like he did step one by making weight as the alternate for UFC 317 and said he would do it again for UFC 318. Wasn't needed, but he's at least efforting. I think his big F up along the way is when they offered him Mateus Gamrot for the Saudi main event, or maybe Abu Dhabi on this card tomorrow. It was something on that side of the world, and he said no. For what? We're here 7 months ish after that fight was supposed to happen with Islam in January, and nothing has happened. You've really made no forward progress. You haven't fought. You have no fight booked. Like, before we know it, he's going to be out for a year, and like it's just not the right situation. So who knows, if they offer him any fight, you got to take it on whatever card and just get the win, make your statement on the mic. We have it all building here with you and Ilia, and maybe you get that fight. But right now it's not next for him. So this is all just window dressing until we get, Ilia's next fight and their next fight, because maybe they're on a collision course. Maybe it happens if they both lose, whatever. But right now, like, I would be shocked if Arman Tsarukyan's next fight was for the UFC lightweight title.
I'm with you, but this division, very fun at the top. We got Max reinserted. We got Patty looking for a big fight. Gaethje still lingering. Let's effing go. All right, let's go to topic number 4 as we close out our time here with a very generous here, Mike Bohn of MMA Junkie and the Bonfire fame. But when we do have first-time guests like this, we like to close with a little bit of fun. Sean Zittel still to come around the corner, but first, let's play a little segment fun we call Getting to Know Mike Bohn. All right, I've got 7 personal questions. Let's see if Mike has 7 personal answers, or maybe we find out he was a varsity athlete just like Aaron Bronstetter back in the day. Mike, let's go number 1 here on this personal hot seat. What do you believe makes you different from everyone else in the competitive MMA media space?
I mean, I think the thing that allowed me to stand out early was just my, leaning on the facts and the stats and that type of stuff that no one was really doing at the time when I came in. I don't even know if Fight Metric was a thing when I started doing this. Coming up, it'll be 13 years at MMA Junkie on August 1st. So it's been a long time there. And I think the ability that when I came in, MMA Junkie was not really doing any video, no social media presence outside of a Twitter and a Facebook account, I think. And I had the opportunity to kind of shape all that stuff and what we do and start moving towards video type content and all those things. So I think, it's hard to replicate. I can't sit here and be like, do this to anyone else who's aspiring. I got in at a great time at a young age and was given a platform and opportunity where I could do a lot of the things I wanted to do and try to grow things. And that's all kind of coupled, what I've been able to do. And definitely the opportunities to travel to some places around the world, Japan, Brazil, like 5 times, Australia, all these things, which a lot of people in MMA media are not fortunate enough to be able to do. And I've been really grateful for those opportunities. But, the more you're on the road, the more you get to know people and entrench yourself in this industry. And I've been given a lot of chances to do that over, a dozen plus years. So, I guess I'd say the opportunities I've been given have been maybe different from people, and I'd like to think I've tried to take advantage of them to the best of my ability.
It's clear that you have, Mike. You're not the young kid on the block. You're in the midst of your prime and doing a great job. And I see the rapport you have with the fighters that shows me that you're a fair and friendly individual, and certainly you have been in your coverage of the big stories, and sometimes you got to take sides on things like that. Let's keep it going here and find a little bit more about Mike. I'm not sure if you've heard Mike, but I was cage side for a little fight called Adesanya Gastelum at UFC 236 that damn near changed my life in 2019. Hey, shout out to Max and Dustin Part 2. Couldn't live up to it. I had that same feeling when Whaley and Joanna damn near killed themselves in the first fight in 2020. What's the best fight you've ever covered cage side as an MMA journalist that just gave you those unforgettable feelings?
There's a few, man. The 2 you mentioned, I also had the privilege of being there. Amazing nights. Other ones that stand out, Yuri Prohajka and Glover Teixeira in Singapore was a cool one. That was an amazing fight, and always weird when it's happening at like 11 in the morning local time, right? I think the first fight of the day on that card in Singapore was like 5 a.m. or something. So those are always like, you know, a little bit more eerie, especially, you know, in that part of the world where the crowd just has a bit of a different energy when a war like that is going on. But another one here in Toronto, the first UFC event I actually ever covered for MMA Junkie was John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson 1, UFC 165. That was like literally just right down the street here. And that was still to this day one of the greatest fights I've ever seen in person. Had the chance of sitting next to, who I believe we'll talk about a bit, the late Jordan Breen. That one was special to me. Another Toronto shout out, Cub Swanson and Doohoo Choi was amazing. And Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 2 was a pretty special one as well at UFC 202.
Wow, I think you could fill Luke Thomas's shoes. You gave me 25 answers for one question, but
there's a lot.
I did appreciate hearing the big moments that meant a ton to you. You never, you know, you are changed to some degree by these crazy fights. You know what I mean? You'll never forget how you felt. You'll never, and I'm always thankful for the access we do get in those situations. We're not only ringside, cage side. A lot of times we're backstage interviewing them right after too. So that's what keeps us a fan. And that's what fuels our passion ultimately for this game. All right, Mike, MK culture is wild. It's, you know, we make fun of each other on an aggressive basis. And, you know, maybe to a negative degree, you've been framed as a handsy airline passenger and a ladies' man. When it comes to the ladies and airplanes, I got to ask, what is the real story Luke Thomas referenced about you meeting a chick on a plane and maybe even making out with her right there then? What happened here?
If it wasn't for the show, this story would have been left in the past for no one to reference or recall or anything like that. But speaking of big fights, it was on the way to a big fight. Mayweather versus McGregor. You know, get on the plane and sat on the tarmac, I think, for 2 or so hours. Had a nice woman sitting next to me. We started chatting while we were waiting. They bring us some drinks, and then we find out we're getting deplaned, which was not ideal because I think that's when they were doing the grand entrances for that fight week. So I think I had to write off being able to make it down there in time for that. But when they deplane us, I think they said it was like a 4-hour layover that we'd be waiting for. Gave everyone like a $50 gift card to go spend at the bar. So you keep drinking a bit, get back on the plane, seating's the same, and that point had a few hours with this nice woman to get to know each other a little bit. So
I mean, this reveal
maybe it was just a kiss goodbye. We'll see. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, we'll leave that in history. It doesn't make it any less impressive that you had that in between time, but you use that in between time outside the plane to your advantage. I mean, that's how a real man operates, apparently. Well done, Mike Bohn. Hopefully there's no females in your life watching right now. Let's go to question number 4. You shared, obviously, to go from ridiculous to serious, touching tributes regarding the end of former MMA pundit, you know, ahead of his game in podcast and radio, the great Jordan Breen. I remember his work on Showtime fondly, and the role that you played as a friend in his life, maybe who kept track of him at times. And certainly his passing is a very tough moment for many in the MMA industry, including you, Mike. But on a positive note, what would you say are the most important things you learned from Jordan Breen that you've tried to apply to this industry?
I think just not to take it too seriously, right? Like at the end of the day, this is people fist fighting in a cage half naked in front of the whole world. And as much as we want to treat it like a real sport or, you know, put it in the context of, oh, it's just a niche sport and all those things, like at the end of the day, it's pretty amazing and goofy that we get to cover this for a living and that it's turned into what it is. And just his appreciation for those ridiculous and weird and wild aspects of the sport, which is his biggest passion early on, Japanese MMA, things like that. Really learned a lot about a lot of people, a lot of fighters through him, just knowledge that I could never, ever have gained myself because it doesn't exist out there for, you know, stories to read or things like that. He had a supercomputer of a brain, probably forgot more about the finite details of the sport than I'll ever learn. And, you know, I think that's saying a lot. So a special mind. We, you know, lost a great person for our MMA community. I'll just say in closing on this, his memorial service is actually tomorrow out there in Halifax. All the information is posted on my X account with a link. And there's still the link to the GoFundMe in his name. We're trying to launch a scholarship at the University of Queens College in his honor, and hopefully give someone who's passionate about sports media, mixed martial arts media, whatever it may be, the opportunity to, be in a scholarship under his name and help their educational efforts be guided with that. So if anyone has the means to donate, we're still working towards our goal. I think we're about 60% of the way there. So hopefully
appreciate you sharing all that, Mike. Yeah. Definitely. A great tribute to a unique individual with a unique style. So certainly appreciate the friendship you had and the nice things that you've said about him after his passing. A couple more, and then we'll get you out of here, Mike. I mentioned earlier in the show that I was wrong. You had appeared on an MK episode in the past, and that was the 2022 Beer House live 3 Margaritas show. That was a debacle from start to finish, and Luke Thomas drank himself into podcast legendary status with the fury of his frat guy Marine histrionics. What do you remember most about trying to be part of that Q&A give and take talk session we had?
Yeah, I think you said it, trying to be. I don't know if I'd love to go back and re-rack the tape and see how many words I actually spent comparatively to the amount of minutes I was up there, because it is lopsided to say the least. I think it was just weird because I think I came straight in from ceremonial weigh-ins or the press conference, whatever it was that day, and I was not on the level or even remotely close. I tried to catch up a little bit, but I was not in place with the vibe of that. And it was just like, okay, when can we make a clean exit out of this situation? I love being up there, but it got to the point where you're up there for 15 minutes. And I think I said 2 words, and I was like, all right, guys, let's work on an exit point here.
I felt bad. I really did, but it turned out to be a legendary moment in MK history. We appreciate the role you played in it. Mike, 3 months ago on your Bonfire podcast, congratulations on launching that. You set up shop in Kayla Harrison's backyard. We got a fire pit. We got an emu. I'm a big fan of Kayla's personal journey and really the image, the inspiration she puts out there. What was the biggest takeaway you had from that very unique episode of your podcast?
Just on top of that, we did like a big feature on her life for MMA Junkie. So just the access, like, she let us into her home there for hours, like completely carefree about our presence there, and, like welcomed us into her home like it was our own. And she's got an incredible compound there. Her guest house, I could only aspire to have as my real house at some point size wise. So she took that PFL money and made it very well invested.
Hell yeah.
And like, she's got a freaking classroom where she homeschools her children in there. She's got everything she needs. And it was really cool to be there. A lot of bugs running around, but a lot of, animals that she intends on, I think, even expanding more, like her farm and rebuilding all this stuff. So yeah, it's very cool. She's a very wholesome and down to earth person. And I already knew that coming in, but once she lets you into her home and, you see how everyone behaves there, it's even more impressive. So I guess the most memorable thing was that moment from the screenshot right there. Like that was 100% genuine. I'm sitting there fully focused on chatting with her, and I turn around and felt like I was about to get my eyes pecked out. And according to her, it was because I had the silver chain on there, and he likes shiny things. So,
all right.
I'm glad I kept on my eyes after that.
Reminds me of that time in Phoenix ahead of that Jake Paul fight when he came in on a horse and the horse bit Luke right away. It was like, oh, I know this guy's not trustworthy. No, but good stuff. Big fan of the women's bantamweight champion there in the UFC. And to close, Mike Bohn, your visit today. Thank you very much. We all have goals and dreams, right? Some people even have ways and means. I've been lucky of late to call boxing on the highest level, which just tickles me, incredibly. It's the greatest job of all time. If Mike Bohn had his way, where would you be in 5 to 10 years from the standpoint of that's my dream destination?
Yeah, this is always such a tough one because I felt like I got the dream job so early on, right? Like there's so many years where I was watching everyone in this industry do their thing. Ariel, Luke, the list goes on and on, John Morgan, and just dreamed of being, in that spot, being able to talk to these athletes and, engage with them every day. And, as I said earlier, 13 years at MMA Junkie coming up on August 1st. And, it's an honor. MMA media is a difficult landscape. There's a lot of, risk of burnout, and it's just a never ending, no off week type of thing. But I'm still feeling like I'm as passionate as ever about it. And you see, the shrinking opportunities, things like that. Like if there's still a position like this at an MMA junkie, at things like that in the next 5 or 10 years, that would be awesome in itself. And of course, just naturally you want to keep progressing up and doing their thing. But I love being on this side. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'd love to be, an ESPN analyst on a UFC, broadcast or in the booth or anything like that. Like, I love being on this side and engaging, and hopefully as things evolve, with the podcast, continuing at Junkie, I can just continue trying to be an important presence on the media side and tell these people's stories and educate the fans and all that type of stuff. Like, I'm already living the dream. I would be honored if I could continue to do this for another 5 to 10 years. And,
Hell yeah.
With the natural progression that comes along with it.
Hell yeah. And you did bring up the obvious part that this business changing so fast in front of us. You might be either working for Dana or not one day. Okay. But hopefully not. We don't get to that point. Mike Bohn, MMA junkie, the Bonfire podcast there. I don't know why we waited this long to get you on. Appreciate you taking the time to fill in for Luke Thomas today.
No, thank you so much, BC. Hope to come back at some point, and you're definitely in the queue for an appearance on the Bonfire. So let's make it happen.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's crack some beers. We'll hang out with some emus right there. Love to hear that. Follow him on the social media handles. Where are you at? Mike Bohn MMA, probably.
Mike Bohn on X, Mike Bohn MMA on Instagram.
There it is. Toronto's finest. Thank you so much. Great having you on this show. Sean Zittel right around the corner. But first, let me tell you about this podcast being sponsored by Total Wireless, the official wireless partner of the UFC. And when you're streaming the fight or sharing those takedown highlights with your bros, you need a wireless provider that keeps you close to the action. How about this? With Total Wireless, you're covered by the Verizon 5G network, so you don't have to worry about your connection being knocked out in the biggest moments. It's not something you can say. I always say this. I always laugh because it's true. Oh, my wireless provider's got my back. They're in my corner. That's exactly, though, where Total Wireless is for you every single day, so you never miss a thing. They keep you covered for $25 a month. With 4 lines, folks, without sacrificing the essentials like speed. And with Total, you get unlimited 5G data so you can stay ahead of the action and keep up with every KO. Total Wireless also understands you can't afford any surprise blows, even more than your favorite fighters can. That's why the price is guaranteed for 5 years. 5 years, guys, okay? Taxes and fees included. The best fighters don't make it to the top on their own. They need some support along the way. So it's no different when you're looking for a wireless provider. Visit totalwireless.com right now or visit your local Total Wireless store to hear more about how Total Wireless can be in your corner. 5G access requires a 5G capable device and a 5G service area. Monthly rate on the Total Base 5G Unlimited plan for new subscribers applies only to the monthly rate for your plan. Additional terms apply. See website for details. All right, we let off with some MMA, but my heart beats box, and I'm very excited to bring on a first-time guest analyst here as Luke Thomas rounds out this vacation. And boy, we got some big things to talk about from Las Vegas with love, but he's in New York this weekend to cover the final top-ranked card on ESPN. He's a boxing podcaster and insider, Sean Zittel. Brother, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good, Brian. Thank you for coming here. I hope it's not amateur hour on my part. I thank you for the opportunity. Shout out to Luke as well. And I'm actually at the world's most famous arena right now, getting ready for Xander Zayas to weigh in for his vacant WBO super welterweight title fight against Jorge Garcia Perez, who upset Charles Conwell. I was at that fight back in April. Zayas is fighting for a belt Sebastian Fundora vacated, who just knocked out Tim Tszyu in the rematch you commentated on Amazon Prime. So that's where I'm at right now, Brian.
That's where, yeah. Well, you've been doing fantastic work. I came across, I saw you in person a lot at fights, but didn't know you. But when I started to see the work you do on the Porter Way podcast with Sean Porter, I realized not only, there it is. Not only do you have a shitload of NFL replica jerseys in your closet, but damn, you got some great opinions and you haven't been afraid to share them of late. So what outlets are you, where can people find your work these days?
So for the longest time, I was at the Boxing Voice and Fight Hype. Proud to have had stops there. They both are continuing to have a lot of success. Shout out to them. And I went the independent route, Brian. I've turned down some gigs. So, it's not for lack of opportunity. Some of them were gigs funded by what went on to be The Ring magazine, owned by Turki Al-Sheikh now. So, but I wanted to stay independent so I could be as truthful as possible while remaining respectful, of course. And so between the Porterway podcast, I had some appearances on the Fight Life from ESPN in the last couple weeks, but I'm really just holding it down on my channel, trying to do what Joe Rogan and Pat McAfee and Jason Whitlock and what all these guys and yourself and Luke have done. Just build your own platform to where you don't have to compromise so much in what you want to say.
Well, I certainly respect that in a very big way and wish you luck and hope everybody follows your work moving forward. Let's get into our big story today. It is a big one. It really is. Even though it crosses over to both combat sports, Congress preparing a TKO-backed bipartisan bill that would amend the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act that first came to life in 1996 and then was briefly amended in 2000, adding Ali's name. And the whole goal here, of course, is to create a UFC-like business model for boxing. Now, Sean, the reactions have been polarizing and aggressive in each direction, even though this bill has yet to be voted on and to really hit where it's going to hit later this year. But even though we knew this was coming, seeing the details, the two representatives, one Democrat in Sharice Davis, the representative, the former MMA fighter, and then Brian Jack on the Republican side, that I'm seeing, rightfully journalists in the know going, hold up. This may be billed as being all about the fighters, but this ain't nothing but all about TKO. But I have seen on the flip side, boxing fans going, well, what are we going to do? Go back to the 4-belt system and the ridiculous rankings and all this stuff? A lot of people want to see a unified boxing. They want to see a cleaned up boxing. What do you think this announcement really says, though, after digging into the details and trying to figure out what TKO is trying to do here?
Well, I have a different name for the act. I don't think this 2025 bill should be called the Ali Act. I think it should be called the Ari Act. Change the L to an R. This is the Ari Act for Ari Emanuel, who of course heads the TKO group. This bill really has nothing to do in the spirit of the original Ali Act in 2000. It's about UBOs, Unified Boxing Organizations. And, that's what it's really about. And before we get to how boxing fans should view this, because they're right. I mean, boxing has become so fractured, and the last 2+ decades have seen the sport decline, that I understand why they're trying to pitch this as the American Revival Act. But before we get to that, Brian, I know I may look like, I preface this because I know I may look like a long-haired hippie and all that, but I'm actually not. I'm actually an independent. So, but this critique I'm about to have does not come from the place people may think it comes from. I'm center of aisle. I actually don't vote. But anyways, point being, the irony is not lost on me that Mr. Free Market Capitalist, America First Dana White is trying to institute a socialist pay scale with the lollipop being free healthcare. That's just very funny to me that's kind of the pitch to get people. Again, I'll say it again.
Isn't that Canada's pitch? I think that's Canada's pitch too, right?
And he's doing this, mind you. So Dana said, if you have just a little bit of savage in you in 2025, you can go straight to the top. This is not savage of Dana White and Ari Emanuel. This is subversive, not savage, subversive. Because they to hold hands with Turki Al-Sheikh, literally hold hands if you're Dana White, and have him kind of lean on you to subvert U.S. law. And then Ari Emanuel, we know his connections. He was once Donald Trump's agent. His brother worked in both Barack Obama and Joe Biden's political cabinets. So this is a guy who wields more power than just about anybody in Hollywood, and then politically has his hands in both aisles and can get what he wants done. And then Brian Jack, of course, I think it'll be mentioned on the show later. He accepted $33,000.
Yeah, let's show that.
Yeah,
if you can show that tweet, Long Island Luke. So this is a tweet, and you can back it up on that website, opensecrets.org, that Congressman Brian Jack, one of the two representatives, this one on the Republican side that is aggressively pushing this for TKO, he received $33,000 in campaign fund from BGR Group in 2023 to 24. That same group represents the Muslim World League, an NGO funded by the Saudi government.
Right. So Dana's group is actually trying to hurt free market, laissez-faire capitalism in boxing, which has produced a Floyd Mayweather, produced a Mike Tyson. And it's amazing to me that Congress could even entertain trying to pass this bill by when the ink's not even dry from UFC's $375 million lawsuit. And that lawsuit's only number one of two, right, Brian? It's amazing that you could be trying to establish a UFC-like model when you're about to undergo your second antitrust suit for said model. It's so much to impact at once. And again, this comes at a time where UFC is not firing on all cylinders. The Conor McGregors, look, even I don't watch mixed martial arts, Brian, but even I know John Jones, in so many words, kind of ducked Francis Ngannou, and then certainly ducked Tom Aspinall. So Dana is running it. Conor McGregor, he can't get him back in the octagon no matter how many times Conor says he's going to come back in the octagon. Ronda Rousey's long retired. Once he actually produces a star, he runs into the same issues you run into with fighters in boxing. They want autonomy and they want a piece of the pie that they're entitled to. And what's not outlined in this bill is any transparency to the fighters. To the fighters, look, this is your fight more than it is ours, right? At the end of the day, you guys got to do something, especially the more higher paid fighters and the fighters who are getting overpaid right now by the system. Look, I read the whole 21-page bill, but I tell the audience, you don't really have to do that. 2 + 2 is 4. If Turki Al-Sheikh is coming in, overspending fighters, even making Eddie Hearn and Al Heyman blush, who once overspent fighters to try to get their model off the ground. They are the Canelos, the Crawfords, the Devin Haneys, the Shakurs, the Edgar Berlangas, on and on and on. They are accepting getting overpaid and maybe closing the door behind them for fighters to ever be able to do that again. There's a reason why despite the UFC being such a well-oiled machine compared to the Wild West cluster, you know what that boxing is. But despite that, it's kind of like the free market. Yeah, sometimes you get poor people on welfare, but then it also produces a lot of innovation and riches, and that's your Floyd Mayweathers, that's your Mike Tysons, and that's why your Conor McGregors, your Francis Ngannou's had to play the B side to these guys. And I really feel like on the part of Ari and Dana, you know, Ari's already representing the NFL, the NHL, they got UFC and WWE. These are not people who love boxing and have a passion for boxing. And I get it, I'm an adult. It's about business at the end. There's Stitch Duran in the background.
Stitch Duran in the house.
Stitch Duran cameo on Morning Kombat.
Hell yeah.
And
Dana White's never been a friend of mine, Stitch. I appreciate you. Thank you.
So it's I look at it as, this is just my opinion. This is really just Ari sending Dana out to tie up a loose end. Is how does this cockamamie boxing stuff every now and then manage to lure one of our guys or our ex-guys and give them a record payday that we never had to give them, and wind up producing these random astronomical gates and pay-per-view numbers? This is them more, and that should be, I think, shouldn't that be, if we are to consider combat sports, which is this term that came in the lexicon in the new millennium, then this is an attempted monopoly of not just mixed martial arts and boxing, but combat sports. And then when you bring in the WWE, combat sports and entertainment. It's for rough, the fans. Dude. Yeah. And no, for the fans, they're like, well, what do I care? Why does this matter to me? I'm sick of, because it has been like pulling teeth. A lot of the fighters, the American champions, they have become divas. We spend more time talking about who's the A side. We all know, and it's tired and it's over with. But UFC or TKO is doing this at a time where they're not firing on all cylinders. They're struggling to match their top dogs with their top dogs as well. Their pay-per-view numbers are down. They can't stay out of lawsuits. So I don't know.
They've gouged ticket prices ridiculously. So it's like, that's what's coming to boxing. So here's the point here to me. This isn't about not liking or not trusting anyone from a Dana White to TKO to Turki Al-Sheikh and all of that. This is about they have an extremely unfair advantage in mixed martial arts that they absolutely use to crush, keep out the competition, control their own fighters under draconian contracts that are constantly getting updated to have even more control, especially after Ngannou crawled through the Shark Tank shit pipe to get out of there. And now they not only want to bring that to boxing and use their political connections to change all the rules, they want to be the only game in town and have those same advantages that's going to shut everyone else out. And that's really the evil brilliance of this bill. They got Muhammad Ali's widow, Lonnie, to sign off on it because what does it say publicly? It says we're going to have better medicals. We're going to have better this. We're going to have, better guaranteed pay on the lowest end to try to sell you to the fact that what they're really going to do is be able to build up those walls and slowly kill the rest of boxing from the club show level all the way to the rival promoters that still exist today. And if you want all your food to taste like the cruise ship buffet every single day, and you love what's going on in UFC and WWE right now, and from my looking at the fans, they don't right now in a lot of big ways. And anyone that watches the show certainly knows the issues we have with how much money UFC's making compared to the effort they've been putting in lately. This is them walking right in and changing boxing. Will it be for the better? Will you be entertained? I mean, I don't know long term, but this isn't like they're just adding themselves to the party. This is them taking completely over and kicking everyone else out. And I really don't know how people don't see this right now, or maybe they just don't care because boxing is that red light district sport, as Bert Sugar said. And because, yes, it's completely disorganized in a shit show almost all the time. That's fair. But just because we have somebody who's armed to take it over doesn't mean they're necessarily the right person or doing it for the right reasons. That's where I stand. Let's see this tweet from Representative Sharice Davis, the Democrat and former MMA fighter, who says, as a former pro fighter, I know the risks athletes take every time they step into the ring. So I'm teaming up across the aisle to make sure pro boxers get the fair treatment and safety protections they deserve. Sean, from your interpretation here, when I mentioned that the club show level people could be completely pushed out. And by the way, the people that don't know, the UFC's done that in minor league MMA to a large degree too, only they bring them into the UFC Fight Pass, pay them enough to keep them alive, but create a system where there's no separation between manager and promoter, which is what the Ali Act does, by the way. And you have to go through their system on their terms at their pay scale to ever make it. That's exactly what they're trying to do right now in boxing. I forgot what I was trying to tee up here ultimately, Sean, because I'm baffled by this, but really
it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. It's a tapestry. Yeah.
It's arrogant. So I don't think it's just as easy to say, well, boxing's broken right now. You do have to be careful who you're giving the keys to ultimately.
Yeah. And people, I think, have overrated what Turkey's done in the short term. I think Usyk and Fury weren't as great of fights as Fury and Wilder, for example. I think if you go back to 2021, you had a 6-month span where Ramirez and Taylor fought for undisputed, Canelo and Plant fought for undisputed, Fury and Wilder concluded a historic trilogy for the lineal title, Crawford and Porter fought, and I think Charlo and Castaño fought for undisputed that around that same time. They did. In May of that year, nobody was saying, oh my God, we're getting the fights we finally wanted. And look, Beterbiev, Bivol, and Fury Usyk, for example, were both excellent fights with the highest stakes possible. I don't think either one was a Trinidad Vargas-esque, classic. So I even think that's been a little overstated. And you could even look at Turkey's public investment fund with Saudi could be weaponized by TKO to do what you're talking about, to drive out all the other promoters like they did with Live Golf. Eventually, you privately owned companies cannot compete with a government fund of a country. And that's what you're going to. So once you could see a scenario where once the privately owned companies, Top Rank, they made a lot of mistakes. This isn't all Turkey's fault. Same thing with PBC.
Sure.
They're having their last show, and Dan Raphael had a great tweet saying this could be the last show. This is the last show on American. After the show concludes, this will be the first time since the 40s American boxing isn't on a major American network. But you could see that as weaponizing Turkey's public investment fund from Saudi Arabia to drive out competition. And then once they're driven out and the fighters don't have that freedom of movement to pit promoters against each other in bidding wars, and they're the only game left in town after Turkey's driven everybody out, now the fighters got a real problem on their hands. And when you call boxing the red light district, there's a beauty to that. That's kind of part of the point of boxing, and it's gone way too off the rails the last 2 decades. But there's a phrase people still say in boxing, which is, "Hey, when boxing gets it right, it's the best sport in the world." Exactly. We still love it even more than the Super Bowl. And part of why that is because boxing is not a sanitized corporate 3-letter conglomerate. It's not UFC. It's not NBA, NHL, NFL. Even in the UFC, which is like boxing, always been more uncut, less politically correct than the other sports, but even that's changing. Dana has phased out real media from what I've heard. He puts useful idiots that he calls influencers now to get them in there. So even that's getting more corporate and sanitized and gimmicky. And boxing, as fucked up as it is, and I'm excuse the language on the podcast, but it's real. That the Wild West and like there's even a beauty in boxing when fighters get robbed, because that sometimes is a microcosm of life. That you could do everything right, you deserve it, and guess what? You didn't get it anyways. And that's just another way boxing is I think that's something. And so what I suspect could happen if they succeed in their plans is you will get a more consistent baseline product in boxing. You will get, again, a consistent baseline product, but those nights that come together that make people say, wow, this is, when it does it right, boxing is still the most special sport in the world. I'm not sure that Dana and them have that touch. You have to be a boxing guy to have that touch. Even DAZN, which has put on big fights, the reason why it hasn't captured the critical acclaim of an HBO or a Showtime, there's a little something to it. You can't just go about it the way you do NFL, NBA, NHL. Yes, boxing has needed more of the structure that those 3-letter conglomerates have, but part of why boxing is the reasons it's not like those other groups as well.
I'm
and
with
I think,
you on there.
Yeah.
There is a big charm to that. There is a part where a love-hate. Would I prefer a more organized front? Yes, but this isn't an organized front. It's a proposed dictatorship, a monopoly. And what I was trying to spit out before, and I couldn't find the words in that moment, was we're seeing them really minimize and take the teeth out of the regional MMA scene. That's exactly what they're trying to do with this, raised standards in healthcare. They want to make the minimums so expensive that the smaller promotions cannot survive at that level. In fact, this whole UBO thing, or whatever they're calling this new idea, in writing, they're trying to say that you basically need your own UFC Performance Institute if you want to be a boxing promoter that can put on this type of stuff. And while that sounds good on the surface of, oh yeah, more protections for the fighters, it's aggressively pushing everyone out. Just is how they're trying to frame what they're really trying to do. Let's be honest about what they're really trying to do with this UBO thing. They're really trying to circumvent every aspect of what the Ali Act is really supposed to protect. Most importantly, this idea, even though I hate the 4 sanctioning bodies, I hate their rules, I hate their lies, I hate them. At least, even though we're going to see a foreign fighter fight for a title that we've never heard of, only because that guy's promoter paid, one of the sanctioning bodies, even though there's that bullshit, they want to eliminate that. Why? So they can make their own belts. They can control their own rankings. And if you fall out of line with Dana or Turkey, well, look, we can strip you of the title too. If that's the control you want a promoter to have and no separation of church and state in boxing, then get ready, because it feels like it's coming.
Yeah. And, it's unfortunate because it would, there's a karmic resolution to this for the fighters who have priced themselves out of fights, and they've screamed bloody murder if a promoter tries to pay them anything that they're actually worth, as opposed to searching for the overpaying fights. And to your point about the club shows, dude, they're going to be on the hook for a $25,000 minimum to provide health insurance to the fighters. And, the real play economically as a fighter is to have the freedom to generate so much revenue for yourself that you don't need anybody's free healthcare. You can afford your own. So again, the irony is hilarious that Dana is trying to offer up free healthcare to keep a potential socialist kind of pay scale. It's amazing. It's the opposite of what he claims to be standing for. What do you know?
Let's check out a couple more tweets here. Here's Eric McGracken bringing up a very good point about the Association of Boxing Commissions led by Mike Mazzulli. The fun fact is that the ABC never consulted the Athletes Voice Committee, which is part of the ABC, about this Ali Boxing American Revival Act. They are telling the world that the ABC board is in quote, unanimous support, yet the athletes were not consulted. Oh, that's very convenient. And then we also have another guy who's on top of all this, John S. Nash, bringing out a very important question, saying the twisted logic from various actors in combat sports is that the Ali Act is a relic of the past and doesn't apply to today's environment. And I'm going to insert that, yeah, there's holes in it for sure. But Nash goes on to say, besides, nobody enforces it anyway, is sort of what you hear. If that's the case, then why is there such a push to change the protections? It's obvious. You can see right through it.
And why was Al Heyman in court twice from Golden Boy and Top Rank for the same stuff? And fast forward to now, Golden Boy and Top Rank have helped accelerate this monopoly play by Turkey and TKO, really. So yeah, it's and there was, gosh, Brian, there's so much to get at that. There was another point I wanted to make, and I apologize.
No worries. Let me ask you this, okay? As we look at boxing moving forward, it's weird because the powers that be have, even though Turkey and Dana telegraphed this aggressively with that press conference March 5th to announce the union and really announce that, like, hey, other promoters, we're not going to be using you in about 12 to 18 months anymore. And Turkey even saying that Dana and I will crush the competition. We've still seen that competition line up to suck on the teeth there of Turkey, maybe for financial survival in this climate in which American boxing is dying and you can't get it on the networks. But it really pisses me off that a big part of this new Ali Act amendment in paper was to try to fix American boxing, yet it's obviously Turkey that's systematically broken American boxing by putting so many big fights with young, prominent Americans in Saudi Arabia. Canelo fighting at 7:30 a.m. in front of 3,000 people. We've talked about it ad nauseum right there. So it's another one of those ironies in that regard. But when you look at boxing moving forward and whatever time left the powers that be have to either compete against this or what, you got to, I guess, look at the evil brilliance of Turkey, meaning that these promoters, even after knowing that they're on the outs, are still lining up to get their share. And all Turkey's doing is taking each of these young fighters, paying them their Ring Magazine ambassadorship, and really building that relationship that's obviously going to lead to, 2 fights from now when the contract is up. Do you want to go back to that old promoter who doesn't even have an American TV deal, or do you want to stay here with us? Now, I think Turkey's missed the point on a lot of this, most importantly, putting all fights on DAZN where you're only watching if you're a boxing fan. But as you look ahead to the next 6 months to a year, do you see the powers that be remaining in boxing surviving, attempting to aggressively survive? Because it feels like right now they're like, we'll take the free money as long as we can get it.
Well, I think that guys like Eddie, I do remember a point I wanted to make, which was before we get to guys like Eddie Hearn, I think trying to reverse course a little bit and say, well, okay, I see the writing on the wall now. You let the mask slip that you want to eventually do away with all of us. Let me see if I could play you for a money mark. And in the meantime, see what my next plan of action is, knowing what the long-term goals you've revealed are now. But to boil it down to the fighters at first being overpaid as a Trojan horse, and then the door potentially getting slammed shut behind them. Look at Turkey in New York when he recently hosted that sparring session where fighters were getting knocked out. Those were fighters. That was a microcosm of what's to come. Those were fighters seeing the money that's being handed out, rushing to New York with their sparring gear, literally fighting, not even sparring, fighting, and not realizing you're not scrapping each other at full speed to try to get a turkey bag, one of these famed turkey bags that's been going around for over 12 months now. No. You're fighting for free to claw your way onto an undercard to fill a roster spot for an eventual TKO league that'll only guarantee you $150 a round. That is the microcosm right there. Young fighters thinking they're on their way to a road paved with gold. They're going to get the turkey bag when you're really just being used as another live body to eventually fill up the roster they want to fill up. Now, as for what the other promoters' plans are, PBC right now, having to send David Benavidez overseas for the yard fight is a loss. They've tried to hold strong as much as they can, but they have a very thin roster and an aging roster. And then their biggest star, Gervonta Davis, can't stay out of trouble. But they have an ace in the hole with their Amazon deal. And there's a lot of speculation about that. Is it just a distribution deal? How much is Amazon really in it in terms of years and money committed? But as long as they do have a network, they have an ace in the hole that no other promoter in the United States has right now, and that is a premium network in Amazon. So we'll see what they can do. I think they're going to have to entice the Golden Boys. They're going to have to hope the Golden Boys and the Top Ranks and even the Eddie Hearns say, well, we'd rather work with you guys on Amazon than continue to kiss the ring with Turkey, which will eventually slit our throat long term, even if it's making us money now.
Yeah.
Hearn, I think, is the one who sees the writing on the wall the most and is beginning to plan accordingly. He already changed his logo, which was funny. But he sees the writing on the wall. And then Top Rank, they're in a tough spot when the genius behind the business is turning 94 soon, and Bob Arum. They're about to be without a network. Todd DeBuff got them caught up in a mess with Kinahan in order to secure Fury. So, but I do think what's disconcerting, though, is this fight right here, Zayas. This could have been Zayas and Fundora in a two-belt fight, but even with death looming them in the face, even with the British and the Saudis, I mean, the British are coming, but in this case, the Saudis and TKO are coming, still not working together to do a fight, which is like, okay, then you almost ultimately deserve what's coming then. But maybe they can consolidate and do some fights on Amazon, since PBC is the only one that has a deal. But they need each other, because PBC has a deal, but they have the thinnest roster out of all these companies. All those other rosters have all those other companies have deeper rosters, but they don't have anywhere to show their fights outside of the Zone, which lost over $1 billion in its first year or so under Leonard Blavatnik, and they stopped telling us how much money they're hemorrhaging since. So
sure,
do with that what you will.
I don't know. We'll see. I could talk about this for you with hours, including how, TKO Zuffa Boxing gets from plan A to plan B and actually takes over the sport without buying a promotional roster, but maybe that's to come. But I would like to get your insight on some more positive news as we continue to look ahead and behind, because last weekend we had really good fights, from Alexander Usyk to Manny Pacquiao's return to a breakthrough victory from Sebastian Fundora. So I want to talk what could be next for all three. Pacquiao at 46, fighting Mario Barrios to that majority draw. And then suddenly you had Sean Gibbons of MP Promotions saying, hey, moving forward, we want Rolly or we want Tank. And suddenly you're opening your eyes. Now, Rolly would say, I'd love to get a Hall of Famer on my resume. Here's Manny Pacquiao's response to that comment.
He said that he would like to have a Hall of Famer on his resume. And this is to me, if he can beat me.
Also got Ryan Garcia tweeting his hope or interest in a Manny Pacquiao fight, saying it's something that you dream of. I'm always up for the challenge. I'd be lying if I said I'm not interested. If Manny wants to throw down, let's do it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the elephant in the room and the big money potential of even 48-year-old Floyd Mayweather. I want to hear your thoughts on the quality of the performance from Pacquiao and whether you believe he could go on and sell a big pay-per-view with a guy like Rolly and even win it. Where are you on this Pacquiao comeback in light of Barrios not living up to expectations?
I think the fight itself wasn't really a particularly good fight. It was a very average, ordinary fight, and the drama in the fight was, wow, Manny Pacquiao 46 might really do this, and he's winning. Up until Barrios closed strong and managed to hold on to his title in those last 3 rounds. But I think, it was what was so surprising about it was the fashion in which Pacquiao fought and was able to be effective. George Foreman, long gone from his peak athleticism days, reverts to the cross-arm defense and withstands rounds of punishment just to set up one big moment. Bernard Hopkins, defensive wizardry, not relying on any athleticism. Pacquiao at 46 basically still tried to fight the same, at a different level of pace, which he's been fighting at a slower pace for the last decade, even more so in this fight. But for him to be bouncing around and using those big calves and his athleticism and speed and in and out at 46, I did not expect. And that's what was impressive about it, is I've never seen a fighter maintain their athleticism that deep into their 40s. That's what was impressive. I do think in the fight itself, Pacquiao's no worse than a draw. I didn't see 7 rounds for Barrios. I could see 7 rounds for Pacquiao, no problem. And I think Sean Gibbons is talking about the Rolly fight because, again, the first fight with Barrios, it wasn't that great. It wasn't that good. And then a rematch, I don't know. We don't need a rematch. You know what's funny is if Rolly actually knocks Manny Pacquiao out and retires him, remember Rolly wished us all a happy Easter. Rolly is a born again Christian.
Yeah.
So it'd be Pacquiao. It may seem like the most blasphemous handing of the torch retirement because Pacquiao is making it painfully clear to us. He's like Ali. He's like Roy Jones. He's like Bernard Hopkins. I'm cut from Eric Morales, Barrera. I'm cut from the oldest school of claws. You have to knock me out to get me out of boxing. One of you young fighters got to send me home. I'm not going home until one of you send me home. So it may seem blasphemous if Rolly Romero is the man to do that to one of the greatest fighters that ever lived in Manny Pacquiao. But Rolly's actually a born-again Christian, which is what Pacquiao cares about more than belts and anything else, right, Brian? So maybe he's the fitting man. And what's so great about – what's interesting about the fight, not great about the fight, because what's sad about the fight for PBC is with Tank not being able to stay out of trouble right now, Benavidez has to fight in Riyadh season. You're left to a 46-year-old, well past his prime Pacquiao and Rolly Romero as your best options potentially, right? But what makes the fight interesting is Rolly is actually a good counterpuncher with some timing. Like that's what he did to Ryan. He countered his left hook with his own left hook, catch and shoot. And Rolly can knock Pacquiao out with a counterpunch. But Pacquiao still has so much better feet than Rolly that he could step around Rolly, make him look silly. Rolly's easy to get off balance. There's a chance Manny puts Rolly on his ass.
Dude, it's a good fight. It's like a real
fight. It is.
Like it could be sad that Pacquiao's at this level, but he's also 46 and he's at this level and Rolly's never been hotter. This is kind of perfect, but there'd be no trash talk. Rolly's read the Bible from front to back 3 times. He says there'd be no trash talk. You know this.
I think he'd give us a little something, but it'd be tongue in cheek. It'd be playful and respectful. But I think Rolly believes he knocks Pacquiao out. I think he fully believes that. And then Manny would look at this guy like, I'll beat this guy at any age. You know,
Sure.
I just got to be wary of his punching power. But the Gervonta fight, if you think about it, can't be taken off the table. I don't like that fight. But it can't be taken off the table because the Roach fight isn't signed. Roach is starting to talk about, look, this guy's bullshitting. I'm going to have to move elsewhere potentially. And for PBC, which needs all the views it could get right now, Pacquiao and Tank is the fight that brings the most viewership. And I don't think Floyd Mayweather is entertaining a Manny Pacquiao rematch. I think the only way Floyd Mayweather would ever entertain a Manny Pacquiao rematch is if it's some unforeseen money issues that we haven't heard about yet.
Right.
And it'd have to be drastic because the rivalry with Pacquiao is an exception to the money Mayweather mentality a little bit. I think that's one that means something to him in a boxing sense that he's not trying to give up risking another payday for it. That's what I think. So I actually think Rolly and Pacquiao might be the most likely option. And that's an interesting fight.
We talked. Look, I'm in. I've talked myself into Pacquiao versus Rolly. Tank would be big business, but it's a weird fight. I don't even know if people would be overly excited about it. I thought they should have done it 2 years ago. I'd still call that fight, by the way. I believe that. I wanted to get into the guy in the co-main event of last week's PBC pay-per-view, and that's Sebastian Fundora, because he's really starting to stand tall, pun intended, as one of, if not the face of the 154 division. He no longer has 2 title belts. He gave up one. Xander Zayas is going to fight for that tomorrow night where you are, but Fundora not stopping Tim Tszyu, getting a second victory, but looking for half the fight at least like a destroyer who keeps his height and reach and uses that as an advantage and sits down on his power shots. There is a plethora of fun fights you can make for him at 154, from Murtazaliev to Virgil Ortiz to so many more. Which direction do you believe Fundora and PBC should go next? Because I got to take my hat off to Freddie Fundora, the father and trainer. Him and Sebastian have worked hard on refining what was a fun attraction brawler. Now he might be the best in the division, but respect to Boots, of course.
Yeah, he was a guy who'd win wars of attrition with his uppercut. Being a 6'5" guy, and all he wanted to do was wing his left uppercut on the inside. And everybody agrees Fundora's improved, right? And we're all saying he's using his height better, which means he's using his jab better. Brian, let the audience know, what's the most important and best punch in boxing?
The jab. Yeah.
The jab.
All day.
So if we're saying his jab has substantially improved, that means we're saying he's substantially improved, period. And Fundora now has grown into a quality champion. And I'm brainstorming this, Brian. I'm kicking this around. I think there's 3 tiers of champion in boxing. There's average champions, Mario Barrios, Tavoris Cloud back in the day who fought Bernard Hopkins. Then you got your quality champions, and then you got your pound for pound guys. I think Fundora is definitely grown into a quality champion now. He's not just another guy with a belt. He's a quality champion. And he's still vulnerable. You still saw Tim Tszyu catch him with shots. But with him using his height more now and keeping you at the end of his jab and pelting you with it, it's harder to find him than it once was. And maybe he makes the weight comfortably, which is scary for the rest of the division. Fighters, Virgil Ortiz is going straight to the upstairs to get off his feet after a weigh-in. So is Bakram. Even Boots coming up from 47, I imagine, is going to be that way. Fundora will hang out 2 or 3 hours after a weigh-in because that's how easy he makes the weight. And it looked to me in the Tszyu fight, he's starting to take the shots better. Like his base is underneath him. He's growing into himself, even despite coming off that knockout from Mendoza. So he's harder to hit. He's taking the punches a little better. He has a better sense of distance. His offensive repertoire off that jab is getting more lethal, and he's tough as a $2 steak. The dude is a dog, man. Like Freddie Fundora built him and Gabriella into 2 pit bulls. I still think so. You're asking where should he go? Virgil Ortiz is the interim champion. Fundora and Ortiz isn't a good fight. It's a great fight. It's a fight of the year potential candidate, can't miss type of fight. I still give the edge to Virgil Ortiz because you look at the shots Tszyu was catching him with bombs, absolute bombs in between the shots. And Ortiz is busier than Tszyu. He's a little bigger than Tszyu. His feet are faster than Tszyu, and his hands are faster than Tszyu. So he could build upon those bombs that Tszyu was landing. But if he can't put Fundora down or knock him out, I don't know if anybody beats this guy over a 12-round war of attrition, which is exactly what a fight with Virgil Ortiz would turn into if Ortiz can't put his lights out. So do I favor Fundora over the field? Not necessarily. But this quality champion who was once looked upon as a freak show might just be your next undisputed super welterweight champion. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's wild because he already had those superpowers of insane stamina, insane toughness, that willingness to brawl, all that stuff. Now you add power. Now you add a jab, boxing ability. Now you add where he's not jumping into the deep end of the pool and brawling off the start. I wouldn't favor him against Virgil Ortiz or Boots, but I would against almost everybody else in this division. And by the way, you got some veterans like Keith Thurman and Jermel Charlo still with PBC, still around. So we'll see where he goes moving forward. Alexander Usyk getting the flowers finally that he really deserves after that knockout of Daniel Dubois in the 5th round last weekend, in which he walked him down on the road again in Wembley Stadium and took it to a guy who was arguably the most dangerous in the division at that moment. So you're hearing the top 10 heavyweight of all time potential of people that are starting to rank him there. You're hearing a lot of stuff. We're also hearing for his next opponent, the WBO made Joseph Parker the mandatory in that fight. I'm in. Joseph Parker deserves it, but Turkey don't want it. Let's go to the tweet that Ring Magazine put out saying Riyadh Season and Sella not interested in making Usyk versus Parker. We know Turkey wants Moses Italma, who is going to be great, but I think he just graduated high school. What do you think is going to be next? And don't say Jake Paul in an MMA cage for the champion of the world, the pound-for-pound king, Usyk.
I actually am not mad at Turkey about this one. Just to show the audience, I don't just immediately it's Turkey means I disagree with it. I get where Turkey's coming from. Look, Parker is the most deserving veteran. I think clearly Parker and Agit Kabayal. If you're going to pick one of the veteran guys who have fought their way to the front of the line, it's one of those two. Both very interesting fights. Kabayal's an interesting fight because he's the best body puncher in the heavyweight division, and Usyk doesn't like it to the body. So easy enough there. Parker's an interesting fight because he's not a huge super heavyweight like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, not a 250 plus type. Well, now these days he is about that high, but he's originally kind of like Usyk. He's 6'4", and he can challenge Usyk in areas just most heavyweights cannot. He can challenge him in IQ, boxing ability, foot speed, hand speed, positioning. I've loved that fight since Usyk came to the division. There's an old tweet I could dig up from 2020, 2021, whenever Usyk came to heavyweight, that I loved that fight, Usyk and Parker. But we know that even though Parker's having this great late career revival, and even though Campbell is the definition of a dark horse, I apologize about the audio.
No
Moses
problem.
Italma is the next supernova. You know, it's a stretch to call it a Canelo Mayweather type matchup because Canelo beat Austin Trout. He was 43-0, unified world champion. Italma has done nothing. He's going to knock out Dillian White next month. The speed difference is going to be crazy. But I understand where Turkey's coming from. Italma, as unproven as he is, the eye test is impeccable, and he's the next supernova of the division. So he wants to put the next supernova, as unproven, as unready as he might be, against the current supernova. To him, that's sexier than the most deserving, very good veteran. And I actually understand where he's coming from. Italma, he'll probably get schooled because experience matters at that level. But eye test wise, I understand why Turkey would want to see it. I kind of want to see it too. But Parker is the more logical choice. And it is an interesting fight because he could challenge Usyk in areas other heavyweights can't compete in.
No, I appreciate that distinct analysis. It is heating up there, Sean. Just about time at the end of the show. I know you've got some press activities coming. Xander Zayas fighting for that vacate 154 belt, the final Top Rank on ESPN show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here, so I don't want you to be a stranger to MK moving forward. Tell us as quick as you can with the loud noise, where can people find you? Because I hope people will be following your work moving forward.
Just my name, Sean Zittel. I know it's an ugly last name. Thank you, Brian, for having me on. And just have my name, Sean Zittel on YouTube, Sean Zittel on Twitter, Instagram. Follow me. And yeah, keep it locked in, everybody. Thank you, Morning Kombat. Shout out to Luke. And thank you so much, Brian.
Hey, appreciate what the voice you have in this space, and you're doing great work. So keep it up. Hey, enjoy the fights this weekend. We got one of the young Vargases, Shushu Carrington. Should be a good show there. The final Top Rank on ESPN card. Sean Zittel, thank you for playing. We appreciate it. All right. Good stuff today. Appreciate. And special thanks once more to both of our guests, Mike Bohn of MMA Junkie and the Bonfire Podcast. And of course, that independent journalist, Sean Zittel, who you can also check his work on the Porter Way podcast with Sean Porter. And as you already knew, right, this episode of Morning Kombat has been brought to you by DraftKings. With DraftKings, the crown is yours. Thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors. And you, the viewers today, a reminder, you can reach the show. We're going to be back with that next week at morningkombat@gmail.com. Luke will return. We'll be back in the studio on Monday. Have you seen this shit? Next Friday from home, we'll be hitting you with the dead wrong with the fan submission. So get your stuff in. Sandine, you've been on fire, but our North Korean censors have been like, yo, bro, that's a little too far. So I don't know if we're going to see any of those. Long Island Luke, you've been a real patriot sitting in here and getting this show done here over 2 hours. The Luke Thomas vacation is behind us. I don't know if we can hear your voice right now, but are you going to be main card minuting it this weekend?
Yeah, I'll be doing a full card watch long. It'll be live in 23 hours because we got an early card. So starting at noon Eastern, join us. Main card minute. Thank you very much.
All right. UFC Abu Dhabi. You enjoy yourself right there. One more time on our merch, folks. Okay. I mean, you want Luke Thomas on an MK Punch Out shirt and BC there, you got to get it at morningkombat.shop. Your final chances are coming for the 3 Margaritas shirt, the Technical Thriller shirt. How about that beautiful poster there made by Average Joe Art? You can get it signed or unsigned. They're the Lucha masks. Check it out. It's our July exclusives. They won't last. We got a few left. Jump on now to morningkombat.shop. A couple evergreen items on there as well that you can get. Thank you for the support. That's the best way to support this show. All proceeds going to BCLT and the Long Island one himself. Thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the fights this weekend, folks. It's been fun this week. Luke will be back with a bang. We're going to give it to you. X is going to give it to you, right? Hey, how about that? Take care of yourself up here, guys. And thank you so much for being here. For Long Island Luke and our incredible crew here on MK and our special guest, it's BC signing off. 47 years old, folks, okay?
Happy birthday, BC.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. You know I'm going to be eating greasy pizza and playing Fortnite with my kids and watching Happy Gilmore 2 on Netflix. What a time to be alive. We out of here. Thank you.